Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today I unfortunately need to talk about one of the most underwhelming exotic armor pieces I've ever used in Destiny 2, and it really pains me to make this video as I had really high hopes. It sounded really cool in concept. I really thought it was going to be fun to use, hopefully pretty powerful, or at least powerful enough to allow me to make some even meme builds viable with this thing, but it just does not seem to be the case. And the exotic I'm talking about is the Melis Panoplia. Now this one is good in theory, as you essentially become Thor by tossing your hammer and then calling it back to your hand. You've got Mjolnir now, and it sounds awesome. I really love this concept, but it is so ineffective in comparison to a lot of other melee builds. This originally in D2 might have been a cool exotic when hammer throw first became a thing, but for now there's just way more options with regard to melee builds that perform so much better. The armor perk on the Melis Panoplia says that it's called Forgemaster. It says collecting a fire sprite or rapid solar final blows make you a Forgemaster, allowing you to recall your throwing hammer. After impacting a target, recall your hammer at full intensity to perform a perfect recall, causing an explosion of forged slag. Perfect recalls and collecting fire sprites extend your time as a Forge Master. Now, again, in theory, this sounds really cool, but compared to options like Consecration, which is still very, very good, it just feels underwhelming. I can use other exotics like Peregrine Greaves and use that with a ton of different melee options, not only with Solar but also Void or Arc, and because of that I think it just really falls a little bit flat. Plus it does not work with the Prismatic subclass, which again would be a viable option to mix and match and really allow you to lean into some hammer throw gameplay, but because that's not an option, it really feels like you're pigeonholed into a solar build that just doesn't do as well as a lot of others in the game currently. And I really wish exotics would release more often as a little overtuned rather than undertuned, and this one is the example of the latter, as it just does not feel great. I've used it in a bunch of other types of activities. Not only do you have to get the original kill or collect a fire sprite, get some rapid solar final blows in order to even activate it, but even then the timer is not all that forgiving. So if you hit an enemy with your throwing hammer but you don't get the kill, then you're not extending the time with the Forge Master. You do with the perfect recall, but it doesn't extend it long enough in my opinion to really keep the loop going infinitely as you might hope. And I kind of hoped that you'd be able to kind of generate a really cool loop where essentially once you got the perfect timings down, you were just nuking everything in the area. But I upgraded to higher world tiers in the Edge of Fate DLC, and it just was incredibly ineffective. And like I said, I'm a melee build type of player. I absolutely love them. I've been playing Titan since Destiny 1, and I've made a melee builds pretty much the focus of my gameplay since the game first launched over 10 years ago. And so again, I was really looking forward to getting my hands on with this one. I hope that they buff throwing hammer, or at least find a way to make it really viable in the future. It lags so far behind other melee options, and it's really not necessarily the fault of throwing hammer itself. It's just pairing something like Consecration with Knockout, or having Knockout as an option with a Prismatic build, so you can use an unpowered melee to still generate your health and all that stuff consistently, mixing and matching super. So if you don't want to use a solar super, you can toss on a Thunder Crash and still use the Consecration, or you can use Hammer Strike with a Peregrine Greaves with some other options as well. Just as why I feel like this one feels so underwhelming. It's not necessarily that the exotic isn't great, it's that the options available with the exotic are not up to snuff right now. And again, very, very disappointing. Something that I find sad with some of the upgrades, because I really wanted to make a 200 melee fully throwing hammer build that's just absolutely wrecking all kinds of content. And while throwing hammer used to be pretty good in the game at certain points, it was infinitely strong and you could just bonk everything all the time. That is no longer the case, and because of that, and because you have other viable options that are going to allow you for just better melee builds, I'm going to say that obtaining this one and using it right now is not really something you should be prioritizing in the game. There are other better exotics currently, even with the seasonal bonus. You could use something like Wishful Ignorance with the strain builds, which is going to perform better. You have Point Contact, Cannon Brace, which is better, and just so many different options that I think are more viable, even with those seasonal options that where you can only use the seasonal gear. So just very disappointing for me personally. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Have you tried it? Are there any weird tech options that you've been using, any kind of ways to take advantage of this exotic that make it feel more viable, or are you finding yourself in a similar position as me where it just doesn't feel up to snuff? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video as always, comment, subscribe, have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.